Glad I caught it. Alright. Apologies about that, folks. I seen I had an audio issue a second ago, so I'm going to go start from the beginning. Welcome to Academy Live. I'm Yoshinja, and I'm also joined alongside Countess, your instructors for today's course on roles and what that means for team building. If you haven't watched Course 1, make sure to do so first, as the lessons build on the foundation from the previous course, with the understanding that you already have a base team made. As mentioned earlier, the syllabus for today's course will focus on roles regarding team building. We'll first start by going over the 7 defined roles, using base jobs as a means to envision them, going over some multi-role examples, and then we'll end with a viewer activity where the viewers can put in the chat a job plus what 2 roles they would like to see, and we'll try to make those together. Alright, so with that being said, let's actually look at what roles are. There you go. Now, a little bit of Discord oddities going on, but I think it's coming through decently. Yes. Make sure this is up and we're running first. One sec. Alright. That will work for the time being. I'm not sure why I can't get a full zoom on your screen, Countess. But it's all good. We will proceed. So, what we're going to cover next is the multi-roles. Multi-roles basically just means that taking 2, even potentially 3 of the roles that I mentioned earlier and making character builds with them. The first one we're going to cover is the medic support. So if you mind, Countess, can you go ahead and bring that unit up, the Bard? Awesome, thank you. So this baseline setup utilizes early game rousing melody or nameless song first to get key buffs out to his party, and of course switching songs to whatever is needed in the moment. Now, with that being said, we're going to add on secondary items, which Countess is already working on. We can mana shield for some added damage cushioning, and move to so that he can get around and cover just about any area at any moment. Keeping in mind again that Bard Song is for range, so with this build being at 5 range, has an effective range of 9 total. Alright, next up, we're going to look at the Zone Initiator, which is a time sage. Honey Butter, I love that name by the way, Countess. And just make sure that everything is going well on my end, because I've been having some really weird stuff with OBS today. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Alright, so this high-speed sage takes start of early turn engagement by threatening the opposition with early casting Slowja or even using job magics. Having swiftness and faith status innately allows us to build her differently than some traditional mages. The resilience reaction is meant to keep her in the fray, as it reduces all damage taken by 50% while she's charging. What this basically means is, because she is high speed at 15, she tends to outspeed most builds. And with that being said, I mean, she usually gets the first turn or the second turn action. And then what you do is you charge up any of the aforementioned skills that you want, and because she's charging so early, she's going to have to take a little longer to get that spell cast. So what Resilience does is it helps her stay in battle for a little longer by really cut down that damage mitigation. The Reverie Shield here helps reduce any incoming elemental damage, which most casters are very susceptible to because most elemental damage is in the form of magics. And the Circlet also gives her the initial Protect Shell and Regen, which gives her that extra necessary mitigation to be able to start her cast early. Now, what this does as well is this incentivizes the opposition to consider checking her cast as soon as possible, or reposition to avoid the incoming AoE threat, which is what we're talking about what zoners do earlier. Now, keep in mind that this particular build has no status immunity coverage, and is also prone to MP drain, though Resilience helps with that. And what I mean by that is Resilience also reduces MP damage taken, because when you get attacked by something like the Iaido's Osafune, or if you're getting hit by such as like the Mage Masher knives, those are what's considered damage, and that also affects MP damage, so that also does kind of keep her MP and sustain while she's trying to charge those high costing spells. Alright, next up, let's talk about the Initiator Medic. And this is a build that Countess has specifically made and sent in and wanted to showcase. I appreciate it, Countess, just in advance. And here we have Cookie Butter. And one thing I really like about this is an archer build that can initiate with either using Bruiser capable damage with the Night Slayer, or using Basic Toxico or Aim Vitals to force the opposition to check those statuses. For those that aren't aware, the Night Slayer crossbow is a short-range crossbow, but it ignores Protect, or defense boost on the target. And it also hits pretty hard too, with that being said. So at the cost of having to engage further, because that range being less, and with Countess having to set up with the high mobility through Hermes shoes and move 2, she's able to get to where she needs to relatively quick, and also get ready to punish whoever she needs to early on. And if she's not able to get any, or doesn't weigh in on a worthy normal attack, as mentioned earlier, there's also options in aim such as Basal Toxico, which inflicts poison and oil, which she can then use to follow up with, or even aim Vitals, which inflicts doom, which also kind of forces your opponent to have to consider trying to re-raise or do something about that before they lose their unit in the second turn they take. And lastly, the medic side of Cookie Butter is items, and also with the support throw items, which means that she's able to toss items within 4 range. This enables Cookie Butter to not only get around where she needs to, thanks to high move and high mobility, excuse me, high speed and high mobility, but also allows her to toss any item that's needed within that 4 range as well, giving her an effective 10 range of coverage. Really solid build there, Countess. Alright, and next up, we have the Disruptor Bruiser, Geomancy Samurai. Garlic Butter. I love the names again. I think everyone's catching on to the themes, by the way. So, this Samurai takes advantage of early game Geomancy, and has a higher status chance thanks to the slotted status boost, which increases Geomancy's status chance from 19% to 27%. Now, with her having high speed of 14, 5 move, and also a 5 range Geomancy, which is also 1 AoE, by the way, she can typically get in range of the opposition pretty quick to get a multi-hit Geomancy off and disrupt the enemy with higher status slot. So what that basically means is, because she is high speed and fairly high move, giving her an effective range of 10 with Geomancy, she can get towards her opponent pretty easily, except maybe on Salgitos, and be able to target multiple units with 1 Geomancy, since Geomancy is a 5-hit, 1 AoE attack. But with that status boost, she has a higher chance to inflict whatever status that the terrain that she's standing on, such as like Contortion with Stone or Tanglevine with Stop. And if she can get even 1, but even better, 2 or more, that's really going to mess the opponent up. And that's what makes the Disruptor setup of this really great. But she's also a really good bruiser too, because when she's able to get into melee range, she has a fairly bruise-capable katana attack, and heightened Iaido's status chance as well, because Iaido is also affected by status boost, which she can use to then punish grouped up enemies. Or she can go for a really hard-hitting double-handed Shura attack as well. It's a really good unit that has a lot of coverage. Really solid stuff there. Now, from these examples, the unit can be defined to multiple roles. It can switch case to one of its roles at any needed moment, making multi-role builds versatile for various situations. Keep in mind that typically versatility does usually come with less power. Battles can be won with skill and wit, and not always with sheer force. Now, for the next segment, we're going to actually do something really cool. At least I hope so. We're going to make a few multi-role builds together with the viewers that are watching both on Discord and on YouTube. Now, the goal here isn't to make the strongest thing possible, or even the most effective thing possible, but it's mostly to showcase the versatility not only of the PvP patch mod, but just how truly flexible team building is in Final Fantasy Tactics, even in the original game. So, let me bring up chat here on Discord, and bring up the chat on YouTube, and any live viewers out there that have any interesting things that they want to maybe try to build, we will try to build it with you together. So feel free to post a main job that the unit will be on, and 2 different roles that we've covered before. either Bruiser, Burst, Disruptor, Medic, Support, Initiator, or Zender. And we will try to make something work, even if it's not the most meta-defining thing in the world. It's just, again, to showcase what you really can make and what you can do. The potential is there. We'll give everyone a moment, see if we get any incoming requests. I'm also going to get caught up in the chat too, just in case I missed anything earlier. So I'd like to really figure out why stream's like smaller than normal. Not seeing anything that's causing it though. Yeah, that's all good. It's still coming in, so that's the most important part. And if we don't get any incoming builds, that's okay too. Countess can also maybe throw some things together, or I can put a thing or two together and we'll kind of talk about it. So either way, we're going to do a couple of builds together, but this is an opportunity for the viewers out there if you want to kind of try to work on something cool together. Then we will try to do something. Alright, and we got one request in by Doggo. Dancer Bruiser. Okay. So, let's see. Is there a second role you want to add with that Doggo? So Dancer job that acts as a bruiser, and is there a secondary you want to kind of tackle as well? Or you want to do a single role, which is okay too. You can make anything work. I'm pretty sure. Single roll. Alright, sounds good. Alright, so Countess, if you don't mind firing up a female and getting her switched to the dancer job, please, and thank you. Okay. Alright, so the topic at hand is... Okay, I was getting a reset. Is making a bruiser dancer. Okay, so... just to reiterate, what is a bruiser? Bruiser is a unit that's capable of dealing thorough damage, you know, nothing crazy. We're not talking like consistent 300 plus damage, because that'd be pretty much a burst at that point. But they're capable of dealing damage while retaining bulky or survivable. Now, dancers have decent starting bulk at 313 on a generic, so got a decent bit to work with. So, let's see. Countess, I'm going to ask you a question first before we go. Do you want to do this with gear, protect shell, or do you want to go the route of like ward, for example? I guess just show me on the screen how you want to go about it, and then I'll base off of that from there. Okay. All right. So go on the route of ward. Okay. So just letting the viewers know what is ward. Ward is a reaction that gives you initial protect shell from just slotting it, so it allows you to bypass the. Well, it's not really bypass, but it gives you the coverage of having the protect shell accessible to you without having to go the route of putting it on gear such as Ring Bell or Lordly Root. So since we have that base cover, that gives us a lot more gear freedom now to work with, because if I'm going to build a team, I'm usually going to build with equipped protect shell, or excuse me, initial protect shell through gear. So having ward is a really great option to kind of circumvent that and still get that coverage you need. So with that being said, If I'm going to make this as a bruiser, I'm going to go with the escort guard here for sure on the body. Might have it somewhere else. It's all good. Alright, awesome. And the reason why I'm going to go with this is, one, it's the highest amount of plus HP you can get out of clothing or robes. It is a limited item. Yeah, I already noticed when Gallus was going through it. It also gives a few little bit of elemental coverages as well, such as I think it's half earth, half water and lightning. Thank you, appreciate it. I was about to say ice for some reason. So yeah, it's a really great piece of gear. It's limited, but it gives you exceptional bulk and a little bit of elemental coverage, which is really great. Okay, so escort guard on that, and then let's see. As a dancer, I'm trying to be a bruiser. So again, that means being able to deal damage to a degree while also retaining bulk. So Countess, I'm gonna let you take the swing. What do you think would be a good hit piece for that? Now we can skip past Protect Shell here because we already got the reward. Okay, Headman sounds like a great piece of gear. Definitely would kind of steer away from doing hair adornments here because that kind of makes Spicy Butter even less bulky, though it gives her a lot of status coverage. But if the goal is to go for bulk and damage, then Headman is definitely the best thing. It gives you a plus 100 and also gives you plus 2 power, which is definitely going to help push that bruiser level damage. Alright, so with that being said, let's look at the weapon next, and I'm going to go the route of, let's see, they have knives, cloths, and poles innately. Yep. Alright. And they have bags, but we're not going to do a bag here, because we need the damage, right? Bags aren't going to do enough output. Let's go ahead and do... Yeah, let's go and do Cashmere. Yeah. I also want to stick with the jobs, like specialized weapons if possible, so yeah, Cashmere would definitely be a solid choice. The Countess, if you don't mind, can you bring up the help menu on that, just to kind of showcase what that is? So the Cashmere gives you 2 additional power, which is great towards what we're trying to aim for. It also has a 50% chance to inflict, immobilize, and disable all at once, so if it successfully rolls, then that effectively pretty much locks that unit out for a few. Now, immobilize and disable doesn't last that long, but the fact that it shuts off a unit's ability to move or act is still really big, so I think this would be a really great option to get some bruiser damage off while still having that really great 20 block that cloths have innately as well. So, I think that would be a good choice. And lastly, let's see. So the accessory slot's going to be a little tricky. The thing I'm looking at here is potentially speed and or move, but there's other options there too. So if we want to push damage, you can also go Bracer or even Genji Glove. Genji Glove might be potentially the better option there because the cloths scale with power and magic. So Genji gives you both, and that will result in higher damage output. But Bracer does also help with mincing minuet damage more so than Genji Gloves by a margin. So there's a little bit of here and there to go with. Now, the reason why I mentioned speed and or move is even though Dance has 5 range compared to Bard Song's 4 range, 4 move is still plenty. Don't get me wrong, but it gives us an effective 9 move with dance skills. But sometimes it's, especially when we're trying to melee attack, you're going to want to be able to get in position a little easier instead of struggling as much, right? So keep in mind that the Cashmere is 2 range, so we don't have to go too crazy on it. We can still kind of get that poke if we need to. But I'm thinking ultimately Hermes shoes might be the best option here. And if you don't mind, can you bring up the help on that one, Gallus? So Hermes shoes gives an additional speed and an additional move, which kind of covers the areas I was concerned with earlier that I was mentioning. Speed is important because you want to be able to get around faster, right? Having bulk is good, but if you're not able to get as many active turns within the game, then it's not probably going to yield out as much, especially if you're trying to get bruiser level damage with attacks. So that extra speed helps there. The extra move on the Hermes also helps reinforce being able to get closer to a target so that I can take that 5 move that I have now and have an effective 7 attack range with the cloth, which is a 2 ranged weapon. So that's kind of where my thought process landed with Hermes. And of course, there's probably some different, better options there, but we'll stick with Hermes for this example. Alright, next, now that we've got that stuff, let's cover abilities. Alright, so dancers have innate performing arts, which just means that their dance abilities scale and work a little better than any other job that doesn't, which should be the case because that's what they specialize in, right? But if we're going to push damage, then we have a couple options in support. So damage and survivability is the 2 things I'm looking at. So we're looking at either attack boost or HP boost. Countess, I'll let you pick on that. Which one do you think would be best for this case? Should survivability outweigh damage potential, or does damage potential outweigh survivability? You get a pretty nice chunk of HP boost there too. Just throwing it out there. HP boost is 25% of your base HP, so it scales a lot higher than it did in the original game. Even I think it's 20% in the original game, and that extra 5 actually does carry a lot of weight too. I think Countess is one to stick with HP boost. Seems to be the option, and honestly, I'm here for it. So this dancer, which started at 313, is now at 667 HP, and that's just in the matter of slotting 2 pieces of gear. And of course, keep in mind what the bulkiest clothing that you can equip, and also attaching it with HP boost and getting that HP up there really nice. So 667 sounds like a really survivable job. She's able to take a couple hits there and keep on trucking. And with Ward, if that triggers, she'll also refresh her Protect Shell and also gain Region 2, which the Region tick will heal harder because her HP is higher as well. And thank you for showing that, by the way, Countess. Alright, so we got 2 more things to cover here, and then we'll be done with Doggo's question, with making a Bruiser style dancer. So the secondary action ability, I think this can go a lot of different ways. If I'm looking at potentially doing some damage, I might actually go Fundaments here this time around as a secondary. And the reason why is because depending on the map and depending on kind of like if both players are kind of taking a couple turns to set up, and what I'll do is I'll take the first turn to do a focus, and that'll give me +1 speed, power, and magic, which will also cause my base stats here, if we look on the screen, cause my power to go to 20, my magic to go to 16, and my speed to go to 13. That'll enable me to be able to get a lot more damage potential, especially because my odd numbered power magic is now even. And that's going to be really important with those weapons such as the cloth that calculates with power magic divided by 2 times its weapon power. So that's kind of why I'm going to lean with Fundaments. And I might not be able to do a turn 1 focus every time. It just kind of depends on the situation, right? But if I can, I will. And that will definitely help her be able to get a little bit more actions in and also get a little more damage output, which is kind of the goal at the end of the day. And lastly, let's look at movement. Countess, what do you think would be a prime choice for mobility here? A lot of different options, so plenty of choices. We go with Nimble? Okay. Nimble's a good choice. So, as we see on the screen here, Nimble gives you an additional move, so this dancer is now sitting at 6 move with an effective range of 8 attack, and also an effective range of 11 dance. So keep that in mind. It also means that she can't no longer be inflicted with slow, stop, or immobilize. So that's also really good too, and really important as well, because the immobilize immunity enables this dancer to be able to get to where she needs to be and strike at a moment's notice. Stop also is pretty much a CC, crowd control type status effect, so again, that would keep her from moving, right? And slow also helps to enables her, or excuse me, the slow immunity enables her to not have her speed cut down by a quarter, which would really hurt in being able to get effective attacks off as a Bruiser build. So I dig that. I definitely dig that, to be honest. I think Nimble will be a solid choice there. Just hopping over to the YouTube chat real quick to see a comment pop up. Hello there, video games. How's it going? Where's Mike? Where's Mikey? Is that who you're referring to? There's a little bit of stream delay, so might not get that message just yet. I like to think that's who they're referring to. It's Mikey. Tactics Live Tournament, probably. If it is, Mikey, I'm not sure what his whereabouts are as of right now. I know he was doing, he did the whole Ely's Chronicles stream and the campaign playthroughs on that version. I'm not sure if he's going to continue doing FFT content. It's been a minute since I've talked to him, personally. I think he was trying to figure out what he was going to do after that, honestly, but I'm not sure if he's ever made a decision with that or if he's kind of stepping away. I'm not sure, ultimately. Yep. Hopefully that's who you're asking about there. But thanks for popping in. Oh, it is. Okay, cool. Yep, it was Mikey. Yep. All right. But yeah, so this just hopping back to the multi-role viewer activity build here. Ultimately, Countess Mila, can you zoom back to where we see the gear and the abilities together? Awesome, appreciate it. So, at Douglas requests a single role Bruiser Dancer, and this is what we have: Spicy Butter with 667 HP, really good bulk there. Starting at a naked base at 313. She's got 19 starting power, 15 starting magic, 12 speed, and 6 move, which gives her plenty of opportunity to engage with her opponent at any moment, either with her Kashmir, which has a 50% chance to inflict, immobilize, or disable, or going into a 5 range dance to debilitate your enemies. And having that backup Fundaments enables a really nice turn 1, I can't dance or attack you yet option to get that focus out there and get those stats pumped up. And lastly, just so we can kind of verify this Bruiser style damage, Countess, if you don't mind, can you save real quick? And then, do you have a build that actually has Protect Shell already on as well, that you can just kind of target real quick and kind of see what damage we're looking at? I think it'd be just kind of like a cool thing just to kind of see too. Yep. Cookie Butter looks like the job. Alright, so yep, anytime you guys make any change to your team, make sure you are saving the game. Always, always, always save. Takes a couple seconds, and it definitely keeps those ideas and imagination and theory crafting going. I'm back to YouTube chat. J7 is also absent. Yeah, J7 hasn't posted in a bit too. And again, he was doing. I think they both were doing TIC stuff, which I get. I mean, it literally just remaster the game. They're gonna want to make that FFT content, but you know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if either one is going to continue doing tactics content or not, or like maybe taking on a mod or something like that, or even the Tactics League mod. Never know. But either way, I'm not sure what their next step is. So we will have to see. Alright, so thankfully Spicy Butter's already got her action, so let's kind of see what that mitigated attack is looking like. Okay, so 165 is a little on the lower end, but it's above chip, so I would recognize chip damage as about, give or take, it's like anywhere between 130 or less. This is a little above that, and the reason why it's a little above that and a little bit on the lesser end is because we didn't go the attack boost route. But with that being said, 165 with a 50% chance to disable and immobilize is still plenty of potential. This also means that this dancer has the survivability, and that could be what makes her survive an additional attack compared if we didn't go the HP boost route with the attack boost route. So that's why it's really important to kind of weigh in all these values with what you're using, not using, but when you're team building, because these things can go one or the other, right? Like you can push for more power. Now 165 would probably be about a little over 200, sitting around there if she had it. But instead, now she's able to absorb an extra couple hits, and that could be more vital in the long run. So thank you for highlighting that, Countess. Just kind of wanted to see what we got there. And we got the immobilize disable, even better. That's what I'd like to see. Want to show this stuff on live stream. Appreciate it. If you don't mind, can you go ahead and reload your save real quick? And I want to ask again, and the viewers on Discord and on YouTube, is there a build that is there a build you guys would like to see that's either single or multi-role? And just in case, for anyone that's popped in a little late and probably didn't catch the first part of the role stuff, what are the 7 roles that I even mentioned? It's either Bruiser, which is what we kind of went over a second ago with the Dancer. Then you also have Disruptors, Burst, Initiators, Medics, Support, and Zoner roles. And these roles, even though they're single by default, they can be combined to make a multi-role build, which is usually what you will end up encountering when you're playing against another player anyways. So I just wanted to see if there's any base jobs with a particular set of roles and how to maybe kind of envision that. If any viewers have any ideas like that, feel free to throw them in chat. Hang out for just a little bit longer before we end tonight's stream. Also, hello Dubs, you popped in the chat. How's it going? Over on Discord. Maybe an Onion Knight? Okay. Okay, alright. It looks like Onion Knight's on the table. Alright, so Onion Knight, Onion Knight's gonna be tricky, and the big reason is because they can't slot abilities. They can slot any item in the game, any equipment in the game. But you can't slot support and secondaries and stuff like that, so that's really gonna make it a little harder. What kind of role are we looking at one day for Onion Knight? We could try to go for something that's based on the gear, whatever gear, because they have access to every gear, but kind of maybe working with within what abilities are in Mastery Arts as well. Ah, good old name change. Perfect. Roll options? Sure. So we got... Here, I'll just start with trash. I know it would have been easier. We got Bruiser, Burst, Disruptor, Medic, Support, Initiator, and Zoner. Again, it might be a little tricky with an Onion Knight because they are ability locked, so outside of Mastery Arts. So, but we'll try to do something. And then that's the point of this activity, is to try to make something work, even if it doesn't necessarily work in the most effective way. Zoner Onion, okay. Really making it tough on me. Alright, let's see. Okay, so we got a couple options for that. We can look at the baseline of what's in Mastery Arts, which there's realistically only one ability that's in Mastery Arts that is zone capable, and that's Thundara. Thank you for bringing that up, Counts, by the way. You can zone with Thundara, but it's already, I think it says 50 speed here, which would be 2 tick, but I think it's 3 tick, technically. Either way, because it's a fast cast, it's going to be kind of hard to zone with it a little bit. But I am thinking about something else. I'm thinking about Garment Ring. And even though this kind of falls towards the Dancer stuff we just did, this is something that allows an onion to be able to play a zoner role to threaten your opponent's area, to make them think about are they willing to want to be in this area or not, right? So thanks for bringing that up, Countess. So what the garment ring is, it's an limited accessory that, while slotted, it gives you access to the opposite gender's bard song or dance. Or if you're an Onion Knight, you get access to perform, which is actually all of bard song and all of dance. And sure enough, that's what we're doing, right? Now the second bit, the increased chance if your primary bard song or dance abilities by 5%. That's not applicable here because we're not a bard or a dancer, so we won't get that extra bonus. Also keep in mind, we won't get performing arts because we can't slot it as a support ability because Onion Knights cannot slot abilities. So that does mean that it kind of hits some of our options in terms of what are we zoning with. So speaking of which, what would we be zoning with? Let's look at the strengths of the Onion Knight. If you mind, can you bring up the stats real quick, Giannis? Alright, so this female Onion Knight has 15 base power and 17 magic, right? But dance does scale because we're gonna be focusing on dance here, not bard song, because bard song isn't a zoning skill, but dance is. So dance scales with power. The main ones do. So that means that mincing minuet and which kind? I had to think about that one for a second. They both scale with power plus, or your power stat plus the power of the ability. So we could zone with mincing minuet, with that being said. We also could zone with slow dance as well. You know, it's going to be like a 40% slow dance, so it's not going to be hitting that well. But the fact that it still -1 speeds you every time it hits can easily break the speed tiers up between both players, or you are in the enemy AI if you're playing offline. So let's focus in on those strengths. Let's look at mincing minuet and speed dance as the main thing, or not speed dance, slow dance as the main things for where we're going to get value out of the garment ring. So with that being said, we don't need to necessarily stat focus, because though we can push power, which wouldn't be a bad idea either way, we're not going to be getting that extra bang for your buck that performing arts naturally gives you as a dancer. So with the garment ring being said, Countess, I'll let you take the wheel on the second option for gear. What do you think would be best here? Also keep in mind that we are building with Protect Shell, so you might want to consider that, but there's plenty of options to go with this since it is an Onion Knight. Again, Onion Knight's going to equip anything. So let's maybe look at the Protect Shell option first, so that way we can kind of go from there. I'm going to give her a second to figure that one out, because there's a lot of options. You can get through your shield, you can get through Onion Armor, you can get through sword, through Ancient Sword. You can even get it through what's that silk? Wormweave Silk, Dancer Weapon, has it as well. So plenty of ways to go about it. Okay, I'm going to go with the tried and true and faithful Onion Armor, and that's never a bad choice. And this gives you the most HP you can pretty much get out of the game. 255 is actually the hard cap, so you're 5 less from the hard cap. You get plus 250, you get your Protect Shell coverage, you also get regen, which is really nice on Onion Knights. Just about any Onion Knight regens for like pretty much 200 every time. It's because they have so much bulk with Onion Armor. So that's really going to help Onion Butter survivability. So I think always a good option to go with. If you're not sure, just go with Onion Armor. Gives you that survivability, and it gives you that mitigation that you'll need for battle. So that seems like a good choice there, Countess. Now, I'm going to do the hit option here. I think for this particular setup, I'm going to swing with how much speed do we have? We get +1 with the garment ring. We're at 14. Okay, cool. So I'm going to actually go the route of I'm going to go the route of ribbon here. Yes. Now, yeah, I'm trading potentially an extra like almost 200 HP here, but the ribbon's going to give Onion Butter almost full status coverage. The only thing that you're not immune to is curse status, chicken. So for the most part, we're good. Just know that Barrette and the other one, Kashusha, those do give you curse immunity. Kind of important potentially because that's also going to, like, if you are cursed, then that also means that Minsum anyway is going to do less damage as well as your basic attacks. So it's probably like not as going to be as valued here if someone was to curse this Onion Knight, because you're not going to be hitting that hard with Dance anyways. But Ribbon just keeps her in check of being able to consistently stay in play with whatever Dance or even potentially Bard Song if you swap it later, without getting without having fear of being status immune. Excuse me. So we got that caught. All right, cool. Okay, so we have a large array of status immunity coverage. We have Protect Shell covered. We've got like pretty much the main stuff covered. So Countess, I'll let you take a swing at it. What do you think would be a good weapon for this build? Keep in mind that Onion Knights can equip anything in the game. Plethora of options, so definitely get it taking a second to figure this one out, because it's like many things would work here technically. So, and if you want to do the shield instead, that's fine too. I can do the weapon, either or. Cool with whatever route you want to take. Okay, Onion Shield, the best shield in the game, and it's exclusive to Onion Knights. It gives you the best physical block and best magic block too. Shields, keep in mind, they only cover your front and sides if the opponent is behind you. Physically, you can't. Your shield doesn't check its evasion. What the Onion Shield does, and any other shield does, give you that magic evasion from any side, regardless, as long as you're not under some type of status effect that will disable you from being able to block. So, solid option. Can never go wrong with an Onion Shield. Great item. All right, now I'm going to do something funny here. Okay, but I'm going to give my explanation behind it. For the weapon, we're gonna go with Glacial Gun. All right, now, why on earth did I pick a gun here? Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple reasons. First reason is Onion Knight's innate counter. You know, Mike, can you bring up their job innates real quick, Countess? Thank you. So the reason why I'm going with going with the gun on this build is because of counter. So what that means is counter takes your weapon's range and has a chance based on your bravery to counterattack after certain physical damage hits you, right? So since guns effective range is 3 to 8 range, anytime Onion Butter is hit by either even an opposing Minsum Minuet, or if someone hits me with like a shuriken, or I get hit by a bow attack, or even if I get hit by a long range jump, as long as we're within that 3 to 8 range, I have a 6% chance to shoot them, which it isn't going to be a lot, right? She doesn't have faith, she can't have arcane strength, and this particular build doesn't have boost elements either. So in this case, it doesn't have boost ice. So the gun's not going to be doing a lot of potential. But the point of it is that I have the ability to retaliate with using my counter, taking what she has innately to the fullest is what I'm trying to aim for. And because Onion Knights have dual wield and double hand, there's actually a lot of other different options to weigh in on too. But for the sake of this, we'll stick with the gun. So yeah, that's my reason with that. Is that she has a 3 to 8 range for her counter, and if she does get hit with anything within that range that is physical, she has that chance to retaliate and do some. Probably going to be it's probably going to be like chip level damage. Let's be honest. Unless the attacker's like someone with faith, or they have oil status on them, it's not going to do a lot. But it's just the concept of showing that like this is one way to tackle this approach, right? Actually, let's see. Before I continue, Dubs did throw up a picture. Chat. I'm actually going to zoom in on that real quick. So Dubs actually posted a similar build, kind of following with what we're doing. So awesome stuff there, Dubs. He actually went with the Goku pole instead of the Glacial Gun, and honestly, I dig that as well. for those that aren't aware, the Goku pole, it's a guaranteed atheist infliction, and it can't be dodged, so like you're pretty much guaranteed to hit this as long as the target isn't protected by Golem, more or less. And that could be really good for stopping casters, or like an incoming spell from a caster that's like trying to land on someone, and you just like poke the target real quick, get that atheist, and then that'll zero out that cast chance, right? Or or the effectiveness of that cast. The poles only have 1 to 2 range, so in terms of counter, you're not going to get a lot of counter, and if you did counter, you're not doing any damage with it with the Goku pole, because the Goku pole does not deal damage, it only guarantees atheist infliction with no damage behind it. But it still can counter, so keep that in mind. It's running out there. There's always that chance, like if you do counter, you'll still get that poke, and it will be an undodgeable poke because this weapon is a guaranteed hit. So, pretty cool stuff there, Dubs. Appreciate you tagging along, following along, and throwing a similar example as well. But yes, this would be my take, ultimately, and Countess's take as well, on building a Zoner Onion Knight. The emphasis is focusing on the power that Garment Ring gives you with the Perform command, which then allows you to use Dance or Bard Song. Actually, speaking of which, instead of me just talking about it, Countess, can you save real quick and just hop on to Zcla's Desert? Just to showcase what is all this stuff that he's talking about. What is Perform, all this stuff. Onion Knights can use Dance or Bard Song. Like, what is this? No, I appreciate that, Dubs. Don't be sorry about that. That's honestly the point of this, right? Even if it's a wacky idea, like we're just talking about it to kind of show him what you can do. But yes, you do owe Countess 25 billion cookies out, so let's get the oven prepped and ready. Alright, we got the Terror Monster Squad hit. Keep in mind those monsters in the PvP patch will truck you if you're not careful, so definitely don't underestimate them. But we're here to mostly just kind of check out what was I just talking about a second ago with the Onion Knight. Mind blown people's minds, or just like, I don't know what this guy's talking about right now. It must be crazy. Not entirely crazy, but this is what I was referring to. Sliding the Garment Ring gives you access to Bard Song and Dance together combined, while giving the Perform skill set, which gives you all that stuff. So now when Countess goes into that menu, lo and behold, all the Bard Song and all the Dance abilities are together, and they're each based on like the opposite of what they do. So you see Finale and Last Waltz together, Nameless Song of Forbidden Dance, and all that, etc., etc. So Onion Knights have the ability to cast any of these abilities, but keep in mind that they can't have performing arts. So that means that the hit rate of these abilities are by their base power, which is usually low. Countess, can you bring up the help menu on Mincing Minuet, since we're looking at zoning? Just do some quick math here. So Mincing Minuet's power is your power plus 80. I believe this Onion Knight has 15 power, is that correct? Yes. Okay, so Onion Butter's Mincing Minuet damage is 95 per tick, which isn't a crazy bit, but what it does mean is that she can consistently ramp this up as a survivable unit. She can't be statused for the most part, thanks to Ribbon. She has retained bulk thanks to Onion Armor, and recovery thanks to Regen. And ultimately, she has also really great evasion with the Onion Shield, because, as well in the patch, you can evade while performing, which is something that you wasn't able to do in the original game. So, with all that being said, I honestly think this build may not be a bad option. Maybe a little bit on the funny end. Maybe not the most serious thing in the world, but at the end of the day, it can work. So, really good stuff there. Thanks for bringing that idea up, Dubs. I'm all here for it. I like talking about these things. This is the point of this is to it's to showcase what you can do ultimately, not only in the PvP patch mod, but also just tactics in general. Final Fantasy Tactics is such a broad variety of different things you can make. Even in the original game, it's a little more limited in the original game, I would say, but ultimately it still has a lot of room to be able to do a lot of creative stuff. And ideally, that's kind of part of this mod, is to try to take that same concept and expand on it heavily and give you more and more options to be able to do things that you may not have been able to do in the original game, or just taking the stuff that's been introduced in the patch and be able to expand on that stuff further. So really glad that we guys had some activity with that stuff and kind of showcasing these cool builds. Thanks again, Doggo and Dubs, for bringing up for being a part of the activity. Appreciate you guys both. Let me see. I had a YouTube chat pop up from AA4722 with fast and ninja builds under 10 H, under 10 height. I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you mind, can you clarify that real quick? While waiting for some clarification, so just to also highlight the slow dance and stuff like that. So these are all going to be less ability power, because again, we don't have that performing art. So that slow dance is only going to be a 40% chance per tick, or per time it goes off, to reduce enemy speed by 1. Rousing Melody has a 40% chance to haste you, whereas comparatively to a bard or dancer, that would be, or assuming that bard would be 60%, or dancer would be 6% there. So the extra 20% is pretty large. If anyone's watched any of the games, either through For Glory or any just like normal casual matches that have been posted on YouTube, you'll see that there is a wide window of things missing, especially when you don't have all that extra stuff involved. So Dance in Barcelona definitely has some needs, if you will. What? Okay, hours. Fast Ninja builds under 10 hours. Are you talking about making a build that's like high speed? I'm still not entirely too sure what you mean by that, AA. Maybe they'll clarify in a second. Yeah. So yeah. Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's kind of the purpose of today's course, is to go along with some of the stuff that we have covered in terms of roles, and how you can take these roles, these base 7 roles, and combine them and make multiple roles off a single unit, and how those different units can react and behave once they've been changed around. But with that being said, hold on, I think, okay, what I can do to end game under 10 hours. So if I'm reading you correctly, what I can do to end game under 10 hours, and then just primary. I don't know if we're talking about the original game, we're talking about the PvP patch mod here. I'm not sure which version of the game we're talking about specifically, but assuming you're talking about the original game, you can get away with getting through the original game with ninjas. It can be a little tough, but mostly it's just, if I'm not mistaken, like kind of grind them out, like level them up as ninjas as much as possible to get that high speed as they level. Which the AI and like the story battles and stuff, they don't scale well upwards with speed. So once you can start pushing your speed on those units, it makes it a lot easier to just consistently get active turns, especially if you can get haste, Time Magic's haste behind that. And then ultimately that means that they're getting double effective speed because of haste, and they'll be able to make multiple actions, not necessarily in a row, but like pretty consistently, where you're able to get multiple damage out before the AI really has the chance to respond as much, and then that could probably help speed along getting through the game in under 10 hours. I'm not a campaign connoisseur, so I could be wrong there. I just kind of going off the stuff that I've done before and just some of the stuff that's been said through like Mikey and J7's videos. But I think you definitely can hit endgame with ninjas. Being careful, of course, but since they have high speed and high PA, like, it shouldn't be too hard, ultimately, at the end of the day. Some of the random battles might be a little tough, because random battles do scale with your party a little bit, so that could be an issue to some degree, but again, it's not, I don't think it's too tough to do. Yeah. Alright, so with that being said, yes, something like, yep, ninjas, if you can get a couple ninjas leveled up, like keep them on the ninja job and level them up as a ninja, and their speed stat will kind of slowly go higher and higher as you tend to do so, as their speed growth is the highest, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. It's been a minute, but ultimately between their base high speed and Time Magic's haste, you will be able to get more effective turns, which will now allow you to get more actions with that ninja. And ultimately, you'll be able to get more damage out because of that. Because it'll be able to go more often than most other units, and then you'll be able to kind of clear the content a lot faster because of that stuff. Hope that helps. All right, so we're going to kind of go ahead and close out for this evening here. I hope today's lesson on roles and how they define a starting point to team preparation helps you on your journey ahead into team building. Roles inherently define a unit, even if you don't explicitly aim to build them a certain way, and they really do. Just even as I was saying earlier, knights are pretty much by default bruisers. Chemists by default's a medic. I mean, even if you don't fully invest into that, that's what they are, because that's just their job innately. That's how they function. And keep in mind, take some of the examples that we went over in this course as a stepping stone to figuring out the basic structures of your team. It is essential to have damage-dealing units, but those damage dealers can quickly fall short without the aid of medics or support. That's actually kind of covering what I was just talking with AA about. High Magic's using that haste on those ninjas and takes that frail job and be able to get more actions often, because even though they are frail, they are really hard-hitting and they're really fast. So it's not always about building teams for full maximum power, dishing the most damage as I can do. You do, especially in high-level PvP. Definitely going to want a mixture, because it really hurts when you make this really hard-hitting team and your opponent cause you to fall short. And that's why it's really important to have that type of stuff. Disruption or even statuses, those also play a pivotal role as well. So keep these things in mind, and even consider some status immunities against pesky afflictions. I can't tell you how many games I've seen, even more so lately, any live stream games over in the Discord or recordings, where statuses literally have ruled the day and have caused another player to win against almost impossible odds. So don't sleep on statuses. They're really, really potent. They're really strong. They definitely have their value, especially in the PvP patch. Thank you all for joining and being part of today's course. If you have any questions about today's lesson, feel free to ask. Or you can shoot me a DM, or if you're in the Tactics League Discord, feel free to throw in general, or even on YouTube, feel free to comment. I'm here. I love to help, and if it helps bring someone closer to understanding things either in the original game or original game mechanics, or even PvP patch changes, I'm always there to help you. Alright, this is Yoshin just signing out. Giannis, thank you again for being there, stream buddy. Appreciate you. You will get your cookies at the end. And Dub still owes you. So, alright. You guys have a good one. We're going to go ahead and end the stream for this evening. Take care.